All right, we are back again. What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. So, guys, we are continuing right along looking at the Colts internal free agents, some individual players that are of note. We've already talked about one player on the defense, Julian Blackmon. So, if you guys haven't already, be sure to go check out that video highlighting him and if we believe the Colts should bring him back or not in 2025. Now we are moving right along and talking about another guy that is a pretty high-profile type of player, a starter from a season ago. That, of course, is EJ Speed. EJ Speed, 30 years old, Derek. In 2024, he played 1,010 defensive snaps, 142 combined tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 1 quarterback hit, 5 passes defensed, 1 interception, 9.3 yards per completion, or 95.8 passer rating when targeted, and a 10.7% missed tackle rate, Derek. So when it comes to EJ Speed, like I said, he's getting up there in age. He's 30 years old. The Colts are going to have to make a decision on that. They just paid Zaire Franklin last offseason. So, Derek, in regards to EJ Speed, what do you think when it comes to EJ Speed? What are your thoughts on him as a player? What are your thoughts just in general about where the Colts defense currently is? And how does that kind of factor in when looking at him and his future potentially with or without the Indianapolis Colts?
Yeah, so when the Indianapolis Colts drafted EJ Speed, and after I saw him in that first scrimmage game against the Cincinnati Bengals, I thought we were going to see some great things from EJ Speed. And at times, there's been some good things with EJ Speed. He has definitely been a pretty solid linebacker for you at times, for sure. And even through all the bad things that we do have about him, he is a very solid linebacker with good production. But it is some of the numbers that you read about when it comes to him that definitely gives you cause for concern. And you have the situation where, like you said, EJ Speed led the NFL last year in missed tackle percentage. That can't be a thing. I can't remember what the number was specifically, but I'm pretty sure it was like in the low 20s. So that's very bad. That's something that should not be a thing. Like I said, he's been reliable in the fact that he's played 91% of his games, doesn't miss time, does produce quite a bit of tackles, Cody. But like you said, I mean, I don't know how Lou Anarumo's defense would change things about that. Overall, for me, it's less about the production that scares me. It's kind of similar to Julian Blackmon in the sense that, he puts up pretty dang good numbers in a lot of different things, but it's some of the other hidden numbers that they won't talk about that does concern you, right? The missed tackle percentage, that being so high, leading the league, that's not a good thing. We talked about, he's on that podcast with Zaire Franklin, right? It's some of that off the field stuff that, he hasn't been the soundbite guy that's, been labeled with all this stuff. That's mainly been a Zaire thing. But EJ Speed is still on the podcast. He's represented by that. And, that can definitely be an issue when you talk about, your name being associated with a podcast where you're basically just getting exposed a lot of the time, especially with the beef they had with Pat McAfee this offseason. And then on top of it all, Cody, what concerns me about, what has been going on in the last month of the season and even protruding into the offseason, multiple times at the end of the year, you started questioning the effort that was being given by EJ Speed and a few others in some of the plays. You and I talked about it infamously, the play where, the wide receiver was out on the edge trying to go for a touchdown, and EJ Speed, if he had hustled over there, could have made a play, but Grover Stewart beat EJ Speed to the spot. And EJ Speed should never lose a battleground to Grover Stewart on any angle, right? So that's kind of one of those things where you question the effort that's being given. And then, look, I'm not trying to be this guy. I really don't want to be. We saw him go on a blocking spree with a bunch of Colts fans this offseason. Again, a guy that relies upon social media too much, in my opinion. If you have to be blocking fans of your fan base in that amount of order just because you're upset with some of the takes they have against you, it shows something about your mental toughness in a way, in my opinion. A normal guy that just wouldn't care as much normally would just stay off that stuff and just go away. But went on the blocking spree instead. I don't know, man. There's again, it's like Julian Blackmon, but there are in ways for me. Blackman's biggest concern for me is the injuries. EJ Speed, for me, it's character and how much effort is he actually giving when, you paid him a contract last year or 2 years ago, and it doesn't seem to be firing him up at all. He only seems to be getting worse.
Yeah, and like he's going to be 30, so that's also a factor as well. You already paid Zaire Franklin, and frankly, Derek, EJ Speed and Zaire Franklin were two very bad linebackers in terms of coverage, especially. And it just doesn't feel like for the type of defense you're going to need and the type of linebacker you're going to need. Although he does have the athletic traits to do it, he was awful in coverage last year. You just can't have two of those same type of backers that really struggle in that department. You need a player that specializes there. So, yeah, I think for all those reasons, with the distractions, almost seemingly not being able to take any sort of criticism, like that's an issue. That's a big issue. And you saw even on the field, with some of that stuff. So that's a big problem for sure. And, we've heard all the concerns about, the locker room and stuff. And I think I'm not going to say it was all EJ Speed, because I think it's certainly other players too. But I do think if you're able to kind of separate that out, get rid of some of that a little bit, get rid of the people that, they kind of just expected to be handed the starting position. Frankly, they got comfortable. That's what it seems like to me. That's what we've heard. And it seems like when you see the lack of effort, it's like, oh, they're not going to bench me. They're not going to do that. But I think Lou would do that. I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to pull any punches. He doesn't strike me as that type of coach. So, yeah, I do think with all those things, the fact that he's going to be, 30 years old, the fact that you already are financially invested in Zaire Franklin, and also the fact, Derek, that you have typically found good linebackers, either in probably more in the draft than anything, you found some really good linebackers. That leads me to believe you go cheaper, you go younger, and you go with somebody who, frankly, is just a better fit for you. So all those things, I think, we're probably pretty emphatic. Like, yeah, EJ Speed, probably a guy that we're ready to let him go and let him test whatever is out there for him next. Again, I can appreciate the story. I can appreciate what he's done. But yeah, I think last year just kind of culminated in a lot of ways for people where just kind of left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And I do wonder as well, with the Colts, did it leave a bad taste in their mouth as well? I would not be, surprised at that at all. So yeah, EJ Speed, the second free agent here, guys. We are saying an emphatic no for EJ Speed. We are ready for the Colts to move on from him, find a better linebacker suited for their system, and also suited better for just where the culture is right now. So let us know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. But guys, that'll do it for this one. Like I said, there's a couple more players we're going to be looking at here when it comes to the Indianapolis Colts and their internal free agents. Again, start of legal tampering is under a week by the time this episode will come out. So be sure to be on the lookout, guys, for all this content coming out really, really quickly. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it. And as always, guys, go Colts.